Thank you very much, viewers. We thank everybody for actually following us from last week to this week. And every week we come here for another fantastic episode of The Fixo, which we have here at Teledal. And today in the studios we have very well known, of course, in our platforms, in other parts of the platforms in this country, people that have contributed in one way or the other in the development of this country, people that are well known also as far as grassroots politics is actually concerned. This week we will look at crossroads to, of course, democracy and development. The people that we have on our platform today will definitely dilate more on that. Once again, we welcome our viewers and our followers from the diaspora to home on another episode of The Fix today at Teledal. My screen is not on. Go ahead. Welcome our viewers to another episode of The Fix. Like I said in my intro, today in our studios, on my left hand here, we've got Dr. Ousman Gajogo, a renowned politician, of course, an economist by profession. Background-wise, a lot will be said as we go into the program. Dr. Gajogo is actually a member of the founding fathers of the Patriotic Progressive Alliance, and we will hear from him on what they have for the country and in what platforms do they have they spoken before, some of the things that people would want to know as we go on in our program. On my right hand here, I've got Mr. Almameh Taal. Of course, Almameh is also a household name in the Gambia, a politician, of course, a barrister, background-wise, and also contributed quite a bit in various sectors of this country. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the episode of The Fix at Teledal. Just to roll the dice as we start today, I will start on my left here. Dr. Gajogo, a lot has been heard. You've been on the media recently. Do you want to tell us who are the people behind Patriotic Progressive Alliance and what are some of the things you have for Gambians at the political level and also at the development level?
Well, a couple of times people do ask me that question about who is there with you, and I tell people actually I think the better question to ask is what does the party stand for? It's not a question. It's not as relevant and as important as who is there. Of course, being a people-based activity. It's a natural question to ask, but there are not prominent Gambians. But we have a lot of people on the ground. They are geographically, demographically, and socioeconomically diverse, and gender-wise as well. It is so just to be careful here, we are not technically a party yet because only the IEC, with their approval, can you consider your group a political party. So at this stage, you can consider us a political organization that is on the verge of becoming a political party. We have done all what we need to do in terms of the paperwork, administratively, regulations-wise, and we've made the submission to IEC. We are waiting for their vetting process to run its course, and in due course, they will let us know. And then hopefully, in a short time, we will come and launch the Patriotic Progressive Alliance as one of the newest members of the newest political parties.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gajogo. I know you will dwell further in that as we go along. Almameh Fanding Taal, you coming from the famous, of course, let me put it this way, and a well-known party. I call it the University of Politics in this country, United Democratic Party. A lot of people are making noise today in the political spheres. They have passed through UDP. Now, being a spokesperson of the UDP, somebody who information should be at the helm of, at the tip of your fingers when you have to discuss. What could you describe UDP is today compared to what it was 5 years ago?
It is still a very formidable progressive movement for justice and for transformation of the Gambia. It is more of a movement in the shape of the ANC, because for 22 years there was an existential struggle in the Gambia to establish or re-establish democracy And from 2017 to now, you rightly mentioned it, many political actors have had a stint with the UDP, including His Excellency President Adama Barrow.
Are you just telling us that Barrow came from UDP?
Well, I think that is a matter of public record.
Right.
Yes. So really, it's a progressive movement that has managed over the last 29, 30 years or so, endeared itself to the Gambian populace. There is a very solid base comprised of very progressive Gambians. And we have consistently offered an agenda for change, an agenda for progress. And I like the word alliance. Now I'm hearing it quite a bit in our political vocabulary. I think we need to build alliances for progress and alliances for change that the country needs. I mean, however, one is careful not to open all the doors, because every day somebody would form a new party, and that can make things relatively difficult to manage.
Right.
Because democracy is the best system we have, but it's also very difficult to manage because you have so many competing ideas and opinions.
Well, thank you very much, Almameh. Obviously, Doctor, we're looking at 12, 13, almost 15 either intending political parties that are coming up, plus what we have on board.
Yes.
15 political parties, even 10 political parties in the Gambia. What difference can the Progressive Patriotic Alliance can bring that the other parties haven't brought? And if you're talking about alliance, who are you in alliance with?
No, the alliance is part of our name. Now, it's a different question as to who we are in alliance with. Right now, talks are ongoing. But to go back to your first question, we have a lot of political parties, but the reality is not all political parties are created the same. There are some political parties that are created as just personal business investment for certain individuals, so that when they see an alliance discussion, they can submit their name and hope for a ministerial post or an ambassadorship. That is happening. Even currently, the alliance that's part of the NPP government, there are a lot of one-man parties in there.
Like?
Like Henry Gomez, like...
You say Henry Gomez is one-man party.
Listen.
I think there are GPDP's been here for some time, Doctor.
The longevity here is not the measure of a party's seriousness. In some cases, some parties have been here for a long time, but longevity is not just a measure. Just like somebody can be in a position, in a job for decades and not achieve anything. What matters is what you've actually accomplished. So the point I'm trying to make is that we shouldn't, as Gambians, just look at the number of parties and say we have too many parties. We have some parties in existence that are just there as a one-man business. I mean, I can give you a long list. Don't want to go into a tangent.
No, give me, because they should then know that they would now need to go to the drawing board to put their house in order. It's a good flag to raise. I mean, that would be a whole discussion on its own. I've given you one example. No problem.
I have no problem giving other point, but I wanted to address the main question. The point here being, there are political parties that one moment they say they're in opposition, another moment you hear that they join the government. Citizens Alliance is another example I'll give. This is not a party that is CA. This is not a party that is serious. We've seen by their own the leadership that there isn't much integrity in the leadership, given their track record. So it is very easy to have a lot of political parties, but they're not created equal. You have some political parties that may come into existence for a short time, but there is no doubt about their seriousness, about their integrity, about their competence, and about their sincerity. So the fact that we have a large number of political parties today is not a problem in and of itself. The number of political parties that are actually serious about contesting, serious about presenting a transformational agenda to the Gambian people, that is something that over the course of the next couple of months will become very evident. because not all of the political parties that have been created, in fact, are going to field a candidate when the nomination day comes. We've had some political parties here that have not ever fielded a presidential candidate. That we know. We have some political parties here that do not have, they have fielded 1 or 2 National Assembly member candidates. So the point I want to make here is that it's actually a good thing for democracy to have a large number of parties. Now, over the course of the year that is to come, which is a lifetime in politics, we'll get a chance to hear from each and every one of these parties. We'll get a chance to hear about their agenda. And through the battle for ideas, the agendas they present, the Gambian people will have the opportunity to differentiate between which political parties are serious versus which are not. This process will create a win-win process, on its own, and at the end of the day, there will be a clear distinction between political parties that are serious
and ones that are not.
Are
not serious. Thank you very much, Dr. Gajogo. We're reminding our viewers that they are with us at Teledal, and this is our weekly show. Every Friday evening, we come here and talk about issues of course, what's happening with in the country, current affairs, and come up with solutions to these issues. I am your host, Mohamed Jallo, and let me just go back to Almameh Taal. Now, the fact that they say Talib Bensouda left UDP, a whole word has gone around that Talib UDP Taylor. They've broken UDP. Is this true? I ran into Menteng last week, Yaya Menteng. Of course, in the likes of Karafa. These are people that some of them who had held positions at the executive level, who left the UDP to join the movement. Would I still be correct by saying that yes, they are there, but the chances of the actual party, which is the United Democratic Party, coming together with the movement of Talib Bensouda is very high? Because they are the same people who had the same philosophy in the past. Is there a chance for this?
Well, I try not to be very speculative when these kinds of questions are asked.
Okay.
It's only 1 month since Talib's movement came up. There are so many issues that they need to attend to as an organization, and it would take a lot of time, a lot of resources, certainly a lot of resilience to be able to become a political force in the country. Because it's not very difficult to come together and form a group. What sustains a group, giving the different views, points of view, the different ambitions, aspirations. So really, in the Gambia, we like to speculate about the future so much. And the future is not knowable, it's not within our control. And I think you said it just now, that 1 year is no, I think Dr. Gajogo said it. 1 year is a lifetime. It's an eternity in politics. So things keep evolving and things keep changing. But just on this point, there was this very prominent Gambian political leader, Lamin Wajwara. Mm-hmm. He was charismatic, a great orator.
Well known.
And he left the UDP. He formed his own party. Eventually, he even joined President.
During the Ndam, what?
Yes, Ndam days.
Yes.
But I'm just trying to explain that, we must reflect our politics from this point of view, that is a team effort. Nation building is a team effort. Obviously, you would need a captain, but you will need strikers, you will need defenders, you will need even a goalkeeper. For the team to win, our politics must evolve in that direction. So if today I feel that I have to be the president of the Gambia, and if I am not selected or chosen by UDP, then I will go my own way and try to become president.
Is that what we are accusing this movement of?
Oh, I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just trying to explain my own orientation.
That's fine.
As far as politics is concerned. That this is a team effort. And if you have ideas to offer, if you have values to bring to the table, do so within the context of a team. I would take a football analogy. This Portuguese player, known as one of the greatest players, Ronaldo, he has never won the World Cup because his country is not a World Cup country. So what has happened in that scenario, you can be the best player, the greatest player.
And not win trophies.
No, well, not win the World Cup. I mean, he's won quite a few trophies, Ballon d'Or and all of those things consistently. I'm just saying that democratic processes where you get your mandate legitimately from the people is not really about Almameh, Taal or Dr. Gajogo. It's about a vision of society that can solve the problem of the vast majority, not even everybody. So that is, for me, that's the kind of politics I hope we can inaugurate in the Gambia, where successive generations would learn how to lead first and then become the leaders and then deliver to the coming generation a vision of harmony and progression. But clearly, our politics is very polarized at the moment. Everywhere you go, people are just so blatantly partisan.
Yes.
And some of it is lays in tribal sentiment.
Big time.
These are some of the things that we have to be honest as Gambians to talk about it.
Truth.
And make sure that we accept this history that Gambia as an entity is not more than 140 years when they sat in Berlin to decide that. Burkina Faso was called Upper Volta until 1986.
Right.
So I'm trying to explain that the whole of this sub-region, we have a crisis of legitimacy coming out of the fact that our politics has failed to inspire the people, has failed to provide solution, or, like your program, has failed to provide the fixes that we need to move our country forward. This is our Diamond Jubilee. Gambia is 60 years old. But if you ask people some very fundamental questions, they cannot answer it. They would rather attack Dr. Gajogo or Talib Bensouda or Ousmane Dabo than sit down and have a nice conversation about progress.
Like we are doing tonight. Now, I mean, Almameh, you've made very pertinent point. I'll come back to you with a question that will dilate a little bit into the tribal sentiments of politics, cleaning that, coming up with solution. But Doctor, the question I have for you is, you would like to be one day, or your party would like to be one day, the leaders of this country in terms of running the affairs of this country. What is wrong with what we have today as a government?
The most fundamental problem we have is failure of leadership that we have. Gambia is not lacking of resources. Gambia is not lacking talented people. I have I've been to many of these ministries and offices. I've met young people in their 20s and 30s, highly talented, very intelligent. You take those people, you put them anywhere, in any country where things are working, they'll be highly productive. But we have a dysfunctional system right now. And that problem starts at the very top. It's a rot at the very top where right now you can take the most competent person, you put him in a ministerial post. There are two possibilities. If we are lucky, he'll just be merely ineffective, if we are lucky. If we are unlucky, he'll be co-opted by the system and become part of a very corrupt machine, a very inefficient and corrupt machine, because corruption is an all-time high here. Because of that lack of leadership, we don't have a development vision that we are working towards. There is no identification of a leading sector that should be prioritized, so that from that leading sector, we can have development where poverty will be significantly reduced, food security will be addressed, economic opportunities for the young people will be provided. The environment, the business climate, the investment climate will be such that not only foreigners will be coming in, but Gambians who are citizens who currently we have, those tens of thousands outside will be more than incentivized to come back here. Not just on holidays, but
just a question at that point. Where were you during Jammeh? Where were you at the early part of this government? I mean, the question I've raised, this is coming from, were you still here? Was this something that was going on in 2016? Where were you?
I came back, so When the coup d'etat happened in 1994, I was in high school. So I finished high school in 1996. So I was lucky to get a scholarship to go to the US. So I did all my tertiary education in the US. Okay. Got my work there for a while. But even though I was an international position, I came back in 2015. Okay. A year before the change happened. I came back. I set up a private agribusiness farm. And that farm is still in operation. Okay. I have dozens of Gambians that are employed in those farms.
That's good. That's good.
Yes. So, yeah, basically that's a bit of my background. But going back to your question in terms of what is the problem here. So, just to pick up from where I left off. Right now, anyone who has a very good understanding about the Gambian context, you know, what is the economic situation of the country, the sector that should be priority of this of any government that is currently in charge of the Gambia. There is no doubt about it. It should be agriculture. Right. And the fact that that is not prioritized, the fact that it is a sector that is almost like forgotten, both in terms of the kinds of appointments that are there, both in terms of prioritization in government expenditures, you know, as reflected in the national budget, that basically shows a lack, a lack of competent leadership. Coming back to the main fundamental point, a leadership failure. Because we have all of the ingredients. We can't say Gambia is poor because, you know, we don't have resources. It's how we manage those resources that is the problem.
So you are saying literally that the resources is what is mismanaged. I think I thank you for that. You've actually made some clarifying points, and then we look forward to seeing a government to get that change. Mr. Taal, we are looking at a country that do have, of course, some shortfalls. We do also look at a country that have some progress that are being made, which we need to recognize with, of course, by all means. But looking at your legal background, this is where my question is going to be. Are you foresee a country in 2026, in an election that will come, that the minority will become the presidency because we are so polarized?
Well, I don't know if I understand your question.
Now, the perception here is the fact that UDP has literally gone into other sectors like the movement of Talib. UDP still stand as a cohort of its own. Other political parties coming. The simple majority still will stand, and if that continues, obviously 42% might be the presidency. That's my point. So legally, is something like this happening at the House? Is something of a legal thing that needs to be looked at? What is happening with our legal system? I mean, basically when it comes to politics, when it comes to development, when it comes to prioritizing agendas.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to renew our politics, to strengthen our institutions. And since 2017, that has been the agenda. You had a tripod of the Janney Commission, the TRRC, and the CRC. These tripods were organized and framed and designed to enable us to pivot in a new direction. Unfortunately, after all the work that they have done, the transitional process away from dictatorship and authoritarianism has not gone as swiftly or as smoothly as people had expected or wanted. What the Constitution was going to do from 2020 was to reorganize the architecture of governance so that some of these problems that you need 50+1.
Right.
Not only a simple majority.
Right.
But you must have 50% of the vote.
That's exactly.
Plus one. So those reforms are political reforms, so to speak, because when the 2020 draft was presented before Parliament, the majority of parliamentarians voted for it. But because of the structure of the 1997 Constitution, the draft that was consulted upon, that Gambians wanted by a vast majority, and a lot of money spent on it. That draft could not pass.
Okay.
So until last year, or was it this year?
The beginning of this year.
Beginning of this year, we were not talking about the Constitution. So a whole 4-year period passed. After that debacle in Parliament, we had the TRRC report, the final report. It has comprehensive recommendations. They have not been implemented. In fact, according to the TRRC, the National Human Rights Commission should be the implementing agency, so to speak. But they have often come to the media and explain about the slow pace of progress. So without a revival and revitalization of our good governance institutions, the problems that we are having on the political scene will continue to dog the country. But I just want to emphasize this point, that this is a systemic problem. Even if we can fix agriculture, we must also understand that the size of the Gambia would make it difficult for us to be able to feed ourselves with the agricultural produce.
Are you saying we don't have enough land, or what are you trying to insinuate?
No, I'm not saying that. If you plan your land size, you look at it, all of it, because you have to now rely on data. How can you have modern agriculture that can, to a large extent, do import substitution as much as possible, but in some areas, maybe you are better off actually acquiring that either from Senegal or Guinea-Bissau because of the size of the country. So this, for me, I also want us to be futuristic and Pan-African.
Right.
Because we are in the same geographic zone. We are all in ECOWAS. So buying yams from Accra or buying yams from Mali is not a stretch as far as I'm concerned. So those places have modernized their agriculture to a level that it may even be more competitive if other aspects of our own development, because Gambia can do a lot in tourism, in higher education, in the arts and culture.
Right.
Area. All of these are areas where our economy can be be calibrated to respond to those things. So agriculture is a big contributor to development, has been since our independence.
Right.
But our agriculture was significantly monoculture. We export groundnuts.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much groundnuts you produce. Groundnuts are, actually in America they call them peanuts.
Yeah, right.
So they are peanuts.
Right.
So really modernizing it, diversifying it, certainly we need to do that. Okay. But we must also be mindful that other aspects of the economy can be valorized and we can be part of this global value chain where we can get as much of all the things that we need without necessarily being an agrarian economy.
Thank you very much, Almameh. Before I come to you, Dr. Gajogo, we will go for a short commercial break, but like I said, we will remind our viewers that they're following us on Teledal, and this is our weekly show, The Fix. Of course, when we come back, we will discuss issues of fixing the current issues that we look at as burning issues that are affecting employment, issues that are affecting, like he said, agriculture. Economically, I want to hear your analysis on this as well, but when we come back right after this short break. thank you very much, our viewers. We are actually very much grateful to our viewers coming on from the diaspora as well. They're following, and people in the country, of course, all over the place. Now, Teledal has come up with this, and we need to make sure when we come here, we also want to gauge your opinions, and we believe that at least we're doing justice to the people, and these are the reasons why we're looking at what some of these things that people are talking about out there. Now, Dr. Gajogo, just before we go for the break, I did ask you to talk a little bit about the economical flow. There's a macroeconomic issues and there's a microeconomic issues, and I would like you to look at it comparing, for example, you've lived the life of the era of Jammeh. You've lived the life of the era of Adama Barrow. Of course, Jammeh was here much longer, but vis-a-vis the time that they all spent, how would you be able to gauge the economy of this country? Almameh touched a little bit of that because it has affected the economy in one way or the other. We don't export nothing, literally now. There were days that we used to have cotton, we used to have other things that we used to grow. So I just want you to tell us a little bit about the comparison of government vis-a-vis the economy.
Well, in addressing that, actually, I would like to address something Almameh mentioned, because he talked about agriculture, being, I think in answering the question, we have to focus on agriculture. And when I say prioritizing agriculture, it's very important to be clear about what I mean. Prioritizing agriculture doesn't mean you focus on one sector at the exclusion of everything else. Prioritization means understanding which sector will lift up other sectors. You have to have a sector in your country, in your economy. I mean, this is not a matter of theorizing. It's based on the economic experiences of other developing countries. It's based on analyzing the economic situation of this country. When we talk about agriculture, I mean, he did mention about land size. Being a small country, we may not be able to have enough land. Let me first clarify that. Gambia has a land size, arable land size of 450,000 hectares. Currently, we devote 15% of that to rice cultivation. Our average rice yield is about 1 ton per hectare. We are 25% of the rice productivity of Senegal. We have the lowest rice yield in all of ECOWAS. Right now, if you bring, given the amount of land we are using, only 15% of our land is used for rice cultivation. If you bring our level of productivity to that of Senegal, we will go from importing currently we import 90% of the rice we consume. If you bring our level of productivity to that of Senegal, keep the same amount of land that we cultivate, we will import only about 30% of the rice that we consume, as opposed to 90%.
Are you saying that if we
just bring ourselves to Senegal's level of productivity, which is over 4 tons per hectare, at the same amount of land that we devote to rice cultivation, we will cut down our rice import from 90% of our rice consumption to around 70%.
By 30% you mean?
Let me tell you what implication that will have on development. Right now, rice importation is the second largest import bill in the Gambia. Our trade deficit is very high. The difference between our import and export, our import is about 700 million. Our export is not even 300. That gap is the highest it has ever been.
That's big.
In the history of the country. What does that mean? If you have a huge trade deficit because you are not exporting and you are importing everything, you are putting constant pressure on your currency and it's depreciating. And because we are importing everything, even if the world price stays the same, the local price will always keep going up because the dollar is constantly falling in value.
Is that why we're losing so much on the CFA?
Pretty much. It's not only the CFA. Today, I just did a post on Facebook to compare how much the dollar has lost in value relative to the US dollar since 2021, 40%. And it tracks the same thing for whether you're talking about the euro or the pound sterling or any other international currency. The reason our currency is constantly depreciating is based on a couple of factors. The most important one is the persistent deficit, because we are importing things that we can produce. When I talk about being rice self-sufficient, I'm not talking about just, making, grow what we eat what we grow for that reason, or just to say that we don't need to trade with the neighbors. No. Things that you need, if your neighbors can produce it, there's no problem with importing it. But if there is something that you can produce, If you import it, you are creating a problem for your economy, because as you become an import-dependent economy, your currency, as you are experiencing, constantly depreciates. And what that does is that even the things that you essentially need but cannot produce, like oil right now, our price of oil will continue to go up. Energy is a very important sector. We have to import oil, or we have to import electricity. We have no choice about that, because we cannot do any oil refining. The cells that we use, the TV sets that we use, we have to import them. Now, the cost of living, the affordability of items would be much improved if all of the rice we are importing is being produced locally, because that would mean things would become affordable. But in addition to that, if you are producing things locally, I have a lot of friends who've left their jobs in the US. I have one right now who is engaged in rice cultivation in CRR. That man is creating dozens and dozens, I can say hundreds of jobs.
You're talking about Sahel?
No, not Sahel. Maruo is one example.
Okay.
Not only is he engaged in rice cultivation, but he's also engaged in rice processing. When you have agricultural productivity in your country, you also create jobs. It creates demand for inputs. It creates demands for all sort of essential services in the value chain, from the seed importation all the way to processing and distribution. It has a vast effect, a very positive effect on all sectors of the economy. So talking about prioritizing agriculture doesn't mean being a monoculture. We need apple. We cannot produce all the apples we need, because you can have some varieties that you can grow here, but by and large, most of the varieties have to be imported. It wouldn't make sense to say, let's go and produce all the apples we need, or all the grapes we need, or some other fruits that can only be grown in a particular locality. But when we are talking about something like rice, which has only two native origins, which is in Asia and in West Africa, the agroecological conditions in Senegal and the Gambia are identical. There is no way Senegal can reach the world average of over 4 tons per hectare in rice cultivation, and Gambia is at 1 ton per hectare.
Doctor, what do we do to resolve that? Let's fix it.
It is very easy to solve. Number one, like I said, the first thing, as I said, fundamentally, is a problem of leadership. We have a leadership problem where the vision, what is the vision we're trying to work towards? Food security. What are some of the things you can do? Self-sufficiency is important, not for the fact that we want to cut off trade with other countries. It is important because cutting off importing an item that you can produce locally reduces your exposure to international shocks and creates economic opportunities in the country. And the increased local productivity creates conditions for the economy to move from agrarian agriculture up the value chain into light manufacturing and more heavy industrialization. And this is where economic transformation happens. So this is a highly solvable problem. Like I said, without any other thing, if we can just bring ourselves to Senegalese level of productivity, we would reduce our importation by a significant amount. And this is not just impossible. You know why I know this? The year that President Jawara left office, in mid-1990s, Gambia and Senegal had the same level of agricultural productivity, roughly about 2 tons per hectare. From mid-1990s onward, Senegal has been on a persistent upward trajectory, and we have been on a persistent downward trajectory, which is why currently, Senegal is currently at the world average of rice productivity, which is around 4 tons per hectare, which can still be improved upon. Because I've been involved in many rice projects when I was working at African Development Bank. In fact, in northern Senegal, I was involved in a rice project there that covered over 4,000 tons, 4,000 hectares. You know the yield they were able to get?
No.
They were able to get a yield of 6 tons per hectare.
At the time, that's
6 tons per hectare. That is, in other words, Gambia and Senegal, we share the same agroecological conditions. Anything you can have in terms of crop growing in Senegal, it is possible in the Gambia. You don't have to do anything impossible. So if you can reach that level of agricultural productivity, we are not talking about using the majority of Gambia's land, transforming everything into rice cultivation. Just the same lowland area that we focus on rice cultivation, you will still have enough land for millet, for groundnut, for sorghum, for findi, for beans, whatever you have.
Okay.
The point is just being productive. It means that the government addresses the constraints. What are the main constraints right now we have in rice cultivation? Irrigation. We have a river. We're not tapping it. In fact, the amount of land that we are currently equipping for irrigation now is lower than what it was. If you will allow me, I'll give you another example of what could be done differently, but we are not doing differently.
Right.
But I'll come back.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gajogo. I believe you've made... Almameh, what's your reaction in the line with he was talking about?
I think by and large, maybe my initial comment
probably
were not very clear. I try to be clear. What I meant to say is that with a globalized economy, import substitution can be a very powerful tool to stabilize the economy. But agriculture everywhere in the world is a private enterprise. Yes, there is a significant role that government can play in it. A significant role by making sure that the factors and the elements that you need to bring up agricultural productivity is there. Secondly, if you look at Senegal,
right,
which is a very close example, they have been engaged in looking at the data around their agricultural value chains. I think earlier this year, they have come up with a ban on the importation of bananas.
Okay.
Because they have been able to calculate how much the consumption was last year. And this year, what the production capacity of Senegal was going to be. So they banned the importation.
I know that they have a slogan, consume local.
Yes. But even before that, poultry has been banned. Onions has been banned. So this is where government can play a role. Now, if you want to get into poultry in the Gambia, to raise 1 kilo of chicken is going to cost you at least $100. So by doing all the work around it, when you are ready with a locally grown chicken, the cost of producing that chicken would be at least $125.
Minimum, that's minimum.
Minimum.
Yes.
So that makes it difficult for a private farmer to raise 2,000 tons of chicken monthly or weekly or whatever the demand is in the Gambia. So all I'm saying is that it's necessary to have a partnership between the private sector and the public sector to ensure that all the engines of the economy are firing properly. Because rice, as we know now, quite a lot of health complications are associated with the consumption of rice.
Especially the imported rice, especially.
Yes. But in the Gambia, he mentioned it, Findi was here. The sorghum grains produce a lot of the cherry.
Of course.
And
and all of that.
And all of these things. So the role of government and leadership is to see how all these traditional grains can find their way either into the cuisine of the country again, or exporting those to be able to buy whatever it is that we buy. But there must be a balance between our resources that we have and the resources that we need for our development.
Now,
so that balance, we have to find a way of striking it through appropriate partnership.
I was just going to ask you this question, Almameh, because we remember one time a vice president has said that even when things come to the ports, we have foreign people to actually offload it. Gambian young people are lazy. Do we have a political laziness, or is politics causing us to be lazy? Or what can government do to motivate these young people not to only venture into politics, but they can also venture into other things that could help the economy?
You know, I have said this in other forums. This fetishization of young people as a kind of a fix. You were a young person once. Dr. Gajogo was a young person once. I was a young person once. It's a phase of life. It's actually the most active, the most productive phase. For women, after a certain age, they cannot even have children. So when we talk about the development of the country, it shouldn't really be broken down into those kind of segments that young people are lazy or young people are not doing this. What we need is a theory of government that works for us. A theory of government meaning, what is it that the government is very good at?
I mean, use the opportunity now that you are at that particular point. Again, viewers and everybody is following us right now. You guys have an agenda politically. You guys have some aims and objectives that you want to bring to the forefront of Gambians. Looking at what you are telling me now, I want you to digress for 1 minute to actually tell us what can you do either when you come into power or even when you are not into power in motivating the productive sector of the society.
All I can do is to be part of this conversation.
Good, right, good.
And what our party will do when they come into power will be embodied in our manifesto, and we will share this with the people. But my own ideas about governance and how do we empower each other, because at the heart of it, that is the real challenge. What they call the developmental state, this is what raised Singapore from a nondescript port. Gambia is twice the size of Singapore.
Okay.
Twice the size of Singapore. We got independence the same year. And they were part of Malaysia. So they were not only surrounded by Malaysia, they were part of Malaysia. Up to now, even the ethnic groups are. So they were able, within a generation, to change their conditions because of their strategic location. So what they had done was to corporatize the development process. So in 1978, Deng Xiaoping, China's leader, went to visit Singapore, and he got the model there. In the last 40 years or so, China has transformed because they have corporatized the development process.
Right.
What that means is that you set up a corporation, end-to-end, focus on a problem, whether it's agriculture, whether it's higher education, whether it's manufacturing. And most importantly, you skill the people to the highest possible level.
Well, I know that, of course, we've got tertiary institutions coming together now and all this.
Yeah. For me, I mean, those things, I hear them. I hear now we have about 4 or 5 public universities. TVET. Yes, there is a lot of talk about TVET. But when we were schoolboys, there was the Gambia Technical Training Institute. And this was established under the First Republic. So was, what is it called? MDI. So that kind of institutional corporatization of what we need. We need carpenters, we need electricians, we need computer scientists. These are all things that a corporation that is dedicated only to that, end to end, can solve the problem. You have waste management problem. Similarly, you can get, the whole of Brusubi can have a corporation just dedicated to maintaining it.
Okay. All right. We thank you very much, Almameh. We are running out of time. We are only having 3 minutes at the end of this program. See how time flies, and we are having such a conversation. I would like to give you this opportunity, Dr. Gajogo, to actually tell Gambians what do you have for them if you actually being given the opportunity, and even if you are not given the opportunity, this is where you want to see Gambia at least starting from 2026. This is where you're projecting us to be. I mean, you're talking about a whole lot of economical transformation, but here is a chance. You could talk to millions in a very short moment. Use the opportunity and tell Gambians what you really do have for them in a minute before we conclude this program. Once again, I really thank you for coming to The Fix, coming to Teledal to share your thoughts, your knowledge, of course, your aspirations in developing the Gambia. This is all that we have, and this is all that we can do, and we thank you so much for coming. But here's an opportunity not to only vindicate, but also explain to Gambians who and what you can do to help transform this country.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Jallo. I think for me, the point I want to emphasize here, as I said at the very beginning here, Gambia, our problem right now is a leadership failure. We have all of the resources we need, whether it's human capital, whether it's land, whether it's the revenue that we mobilize. What we have been lacking is the leadership to set a vision, assemble a team, and execute a plan. And when you are talking about plan, you can get lost in all sorts of details here. And obviously, as a country, you have to address every problem in every sector. And one thing I can tell everyone here that is watching is, when we launch our party, you will have a manifesto like every party does. But what will make our party stand out quite differently from other parties, that you will see our plan for every single sector that you have in the economy. Because a manifesto is, by design, a narrow document. It talks about 5 points, 10 points. But the country, the economy, you as a leader has to address every sector. You have to hit the ground running, which means you have to understand what the problems are and have an idea about what to do about them in a feasible way, in something that can be achieved in a reasonable short time period. And you will see that our party will stand apart, because we will be the only party that will have something beyond a manifesto that addresses every sector. But let me emphasize by saying, we will emphasize agriculture. We will emphasize agriculture as a priority sector, because it will be important not only for a fundamental factor like food security, but also for kickstarting the whole economy, making sure that we have an economy that will generate jobs for all Gambians, but particularly our young people who are leaving schools without any economic opportunity. We have been in a very bad state economically for a long time. The change that is coming is very important. The change is not only to remove Adama Barrow in 2026, but to make sure that we replace him with a leader that can take us further into this 24th century. And that we have a very few opportunities to do that. And if we don't seize this moment and replace Adama Barrow with a competent leader, we'll be back to where we have started. Thank you.
In the same reaction, Mr. Taal.
Well, it's a great honor to be invited to such a conversation, and I think our nation needs this kind of conversation at the highest possible level. We need to originate transformational projects that can not only bring us together, but also based on current realities, based on current data, what the data is telling us. I think an agroecological transformation is certainly one of the ways that can really not only help us deal with climate change, but also ensure food security. So agriculture is life. You cannot transform without it. However, you need to be very innovative. You need to create value chains that are not only self-propelling, but they are also adding to the restoration of the life support systems of the earth. So we need a green revolution, if you like. And I think from that point of view, I agree entirely with Dr. Gajogo. Secondly, our politics also needs to elevate beyond this call and response and what the Wolof call defante.
Okay.
There is an obsession with this defante politics that, you know, Almameh Taal was on the media, he said this, I have to respond to that. I mean, we need really a new kind of politics that is not only inspiring, but also empowering to everybody, every segment of society that is inclusive, but ultimately that can also be transformational. We must get the right models. You know, how did Singapore solve its problems of housing, for example? How did Mauritius, out of that island, is able to become a champion of African integration and trade and development? So this kind of renaissance, this kind of revival, only platforms like the Fix can provide it. So I am personally very grateful that I have come to this conversation, and I'm meeting Dr. Gajogo for the first time. I certainly think we can disagree about a lot of things, but we don't have to be disagreeable. We can keep our politics civil, but also very informed.
Right.
Because it takes a lot to bring about transformation.
Right.
So we see transformation in Senegal.
Right.
I mean, they are just 1 year now in power, the PASTEF project. But what is behind it? Some people in the Gambia would not even bother to find out.
Right.
How did they come to where they are? What would it take to have an agricultural or green revolution in the Gambia? So these are, for me, these are the kind of conversations we should be promoting and, to use Dr. Gajogo's word, prioritizing. So thank you very much for
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Almameh Fanding Taal, Senior Executive Member of the United Democratic Party. And thank you so much, Dr. Ousman Gajogo, a seasoned politician, co-founder of the Patriotic Progressive Alliance. We do look forward to having similar conversations. And of course, this is The Fix, and it's a weekly show every Friday. We bring two people that may have the same view or divergent views, but it's all geared toward one particular objective, which is fixing issues that affects the daily life of Gambians. And we obviously thank the viewers, the followers on social media, and then we hope to see you next week on Teledal at The Fix Show every Friday evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.